complete agreement, and the human intelligence and the whole thing. But what the left misses here, as I say this very quickly, is the so-called collateral damage. It's just not the terrorists that are killed by Obama's increased drone strike program. It's surrounding homes, sometimes families, kids, and the whole bit. So there's hypocrisy there, is there not?
Oh, total hypocrisy. There's probably close to 1,000 civilians that have been killed, and I'm not a bleeding heart when it comes to drones at all. I would much rather use them than sending people in when we need to, because then you're not
Sure,
potentially losing
sure.
an American. I am 100% for the drone program, but uh, I would. They're all up in arms over uh, interrogating someone that is affiliated with people that want to destroy us. They are the enemy. You have a ethical problem with getting information out of them by whatever means possible, but you don't have a problem with droning, when, like you said, they get their kid or other people with them. It's complete hypocrisy.
Well,
Well,
that's what the liberals are all about.
it shows to me such a fundamental unseriousness. I mean, we are mincing about whether or not we want to be offensive to somebody in order to obtain actionable data, whereas they're sawing off the heads of people purely for appearance sake. I mean, we are so incredibly undermatched. If they weren't effectively throwing stones at our M1 Abrams tank militarily, they would be destroying us.
Right. Exactly.
Because of
and
their commitment.
yeah, they're 100% committed to their cause. We have people. It's just amazing to me that we have people wanting to maybe prosecute people in our country that are serving it day and night and taking their lives at risk. Then now our Senate is going to go back and say, "Oh, maybe we want to prosecute you." What? You know?
You guys, did you see Dennis Miller last night on O'Reilly?
No.
I did not.
He was in studio for a change in New York, and they were talking about this waterboarding and such, and Miller said, Genius Miller, he said, he said, I mean this in all seriousness, if ISIS right now would agree to the deal and mean it, that we will do nothing more than waterboarding to your people. He said, I'd be all over that deal in a second. So again, the naivete that we have, geez, hands over the eyes, ears, and whatever have you on the left. It's just incredible. But I thought Miller was spot on.
Yeah, I
Sounds
mean,
like
he's
it.
exactly right about it. No question.
All right. Pregnant pause.
Pregnant pause. So 5 minutes left. Tell us about. I know a little bit of the details for this guy Scott Hounsel, who is suing Los Angeles. This story, frankly, didn't get as much coverage as I thought it would. I mean, we're at 13,000 views, something like that. This is a
Right.
huge, big deal, Jen. Break down the details for us. For folks that aren't aware, the title of the article, it's at ijreview.com. It's been up 3 days. And just listen to the headline. After being cleared of sexting allegations, former LA GOP official files $5 million civil rights suit against the city. What's the deal?
Okay, so this guy, he was the executive director of the LA County Republican Party. Was very successful in fundraising and doing things to help the party, so could be seen as a bit of a threat to the Democrats here. So there was this allegation that he had communicated with this 16-year-old girl, and he's 30, I think, on Facebook, and had these inappropriate conversations. So the police investigate it, the DA investigate it. There was zero forensic evidence showing that these even occurred. They got some records. There were other parts of the investigation that maybe weren't done effectively as far as interviewing witnesses and that kind of thing. So the DA looked at the evidence they did have, which showed no conversations ever occurred between them, and said, okay, we're not going to file charges. Well, then fast forward a month, and the Bob Filner and the Anthony Weiner stuff happens, and all of a sudden the city attorney's office, not the DA, decides they're going to press charges against him. So then they go on for 9 months, dragging this through. Like every month they go in, oh, nope, we're going to continue it another month. We're going to continue it another month. Till finally the criminal defense attorney said, look, what's your evidence? Do you have evidence or do you not? And so they dropped the charges. But by that point, he had already been all over Huffington Post, Gawker, just name dragged through the mud. And so now he wants his life back.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So so he's filed the lawsuit. Do they have a trial date? Is there settlement discussions? Do you have any inside info on that?
No, not really. They filed the suit just recently in the last couple of weeks, and so it has to go through. Of course, they always have motions. They have the discovery process, all of that. So through the discovery process, they're hoping to find out more about why did they go after him politically. You know, when you don't have any evidence, why do you do this? And who else could they have done this to? Or, you know, how easy is it? How did this supposed evidence even come about? How did they make these allegations when then the computer records show that it never happened?
So the idea is that he's asserting that because of his political positions and his position within the Republican Party, that he basically it's like a Dinesh D'Souza kind of thing, that they went after him because of who he is, not what he did.
Right, and we've seen that tactic. You know, obviously he's not on the level of a Dinesh D'Souza or someone like Rick Perry, who gets these charges against him by that out of control DA in Texas, that when the lefties see someone effective, they want to get rid of them.
Yeah, well, that's my hope would be that he wouldn't just take a check as a settlement, that he would make it more of an issue, because it's, you know, to be persecuted. I mean, this is essentially to a certain extent a First Amendment kind of issue. He's basically persecuted because his political opinions vary with those in power in the city, essentially.
Exactly.
All right, Mike, why don't you finish us off? We're about out of time, buddy.
All right, you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Jennifer, thanks for coming on, man. We got to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael House, and we will be back together tomorrow. You better be too. See y'all.
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for December 11th. President Obama gave a heated interview this week in which he was grilled on whether or not he'd changed his mind regarding deportations for some illegal immigrants. Referring to past statements in which the president said it would be unconstitutional for him to unilaterally act on immigration through executive action, Obama was asked why he deported 2 million people if he had the legal authority to halt deportations all along. The exchange became even more tense when Obama was told he had been dubbed, quote, the deporter-in-chief. This nickname was coined by the U.S.'s largest Latino activist group. Obama went on to make it clear his actions were not permanent and did not apply to all illegal immigrants, and urged reporters to make sure that immigrants know what opportunities are available to them. On Tuesday, when Obamacare planner Jonathan Gruber appeared before a House committee, Wyoming Congresswoman Cynthia Loomis gave a statement about her personal experience with Obamacare, nearly breaking down in tears in the process. In 2013, Loomis's husband did not undergo doctor-advised medical tests due to glitches with Obamacare coverage. He suffered a fatal heart attack that October. In her statement, Loomis told Gruber, quote, there have been so many glitches in the passage and implementation of Obamacare that have real-life consequences on people's lives, and the so-called glibness that has been referenced today has direct consequences for real Americans. So get over your damn glibness. Loomis turned off her mic without asking questions. Her experience is not unique. Many people reported having experienced so-called glitches in enrollment of Obamacare. 67-year-old Ron Ingram is recovering after spending nearly 2 weeks adrift at sea off the Hawaii Islands. Ingram left the island of Molokai in his 25-foot sailboat on Thanksgiving Day, heading for the island of Lanai. Shortly after 9 a.m., Ingram issued a mayday call that his vessel was taking on water 46 miles west of the island of Hawaii. The Coast Guard responded and flew almost 5 dozen search missions over the next 4 days, covering 12,000 square miles of ocean. When they found no sign of Ingram, they informed his family the search was called off. 12 days later, another mayday call from Ingram was received, and within an hour, the Coast Guard discovered Ingram in his damaged sailboat. Ingram was dehydrated, hungry, and weak, but alive. The Coast Guard says it's extremely rare to find a boater alive after a suspended search. And IJ Review reports Time Magazine's Person of the Year are actually persons, the Ebola fighters. Recognized for their selflessness in battering history's worst outbreak of the disease, the Ebola fighters beat out the Ferguson protesters, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani, and Jack Ma, capitalist and founder of Alibaba. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for December 11th.
Okay, welcome back to the Right Mics with Mike Miller, Michael Hausen. Tomorrow already. I don't know what I was thinking. Hey, I'm old. I don't know. Anyway, yes. All right. Listen, I want to hit that before we go to House. I'm going to talk obviously about this Cromnibus bill with you and that vote, but I think the misconception in terms of how waterboarding works. And far be it for me to even listen. I listened to John McCain on the floor of the Senate this morning saying what everyone opposed to, and I'm just picking on, or not picking on, I'm just choosing waterboarding here because that has been, has created the most horror on the left. But this notion that torture, and this waterboarding is not torture, but let's go to torture. Torture, the notion that if you rip off fingernails, if you do all kinds of unspeakable things to people, the threshold of pain is achieved, and at some point, the proverbial, you'll tell them whatever they want to hear. That is not how waterboarding is used. What happens is during the process, they ask them a series of questions. No, let me back up. Prior to waterboarding, they ask a series of questions of which they already know the answer. And before waterboarding generally begins, the whomever detainee lies, right, or is not willing to say, and then when they get to waterboarding, I mean, and this may be a blend, but when that that point where they can't stand it anymore, and they start answering honestly, that's when they know that they've broken the person. And then that's when they lead to the next questions and beyond that they don't have the answers to. But no one ever talks about that, Michael, in terms of how waterboarding works. And I think that's why it's been so effective.
Yeah, I had no idea what the specifics are. I mean, I've known. Obviously,
I think that's important.
It's very important. I mean, I've understood what it is and what happens. But everything else has basically been informed by the hours a day I spend watching MSNBC and also Zero Dark 30.
John McCain stood on the floor of Senate, as I said, and the classic, they'll tell you anything they want. And listen, I mean, we got to give McCain, the pretend Republican, a break. We all know, or most of us, at least those of us are a bit older, know what McCain went through in a North Korean prison during Vietnam. So, bless him for his service, and he's in a unique position to talk about this stuff. But I think, the misinformation out there, and certainly there were as in anything,